Welcome back. On today's episode, we're going to show you this LCW chair or lounge chair wood by Eames. It has the iconic shock mount repair, but somebody came in, drilled some holes, and the customer sent it to us from San Francisco to have this portion repaired, and then he's going to do the shock mount himself. This repair is definitely more on the difficult end. That's why they sent it to us. This was a kind of a bulletproof repair. When the shock mount breaks off, they put some bolts through it, tighten it down. They don't have to worry about it falling off again, but it leaves this piece with a few holes if you kind of take a look at that. And if a lot of you have been following me on Instagram the last couple weeks, I haven't been at the shop for a few days. My son, who's dealt with epilepsy as a young kid, we took him to the hospital with some concerns. Everything's all clear, but Ivan has been holding down the shop, getting a lot of projects prepped and ready for us to get it down in the spray booth. So in the beginning of this episode, I just want to show you what we've been working on, what's getting done, what's going into the spray booth, and then what is going to be shown in the coming videos as we work our way through the shop this week. So you've seen this, this cabinet in the background of a lot of videos, from the previous 45 days. Ivan got this thing repaired. We shimmed the top. We glued all these corners. All the doors and the drawers were not fitting properly. Everything works there. The doors didn't want to stay closed because they lost the key a long time ago. We had to put some magnets in. You can see now the doors stay closed. There's no rubbing. Even the front corners, I'll come around. We ended up building these corners here that were missing to match like the iconic style of this piece. And like I said, this piece, I believe it was Korean, and forgive me that I don't remember the style of this piece. George, I know you're going to kill me. Remind me in the comments down below who designed these pieces. They're pretty old. This customer of mine has about a dozen of these pieces, and I'm blanking on the name. So I said what we did is we did all the repairs to the top of this, the front. We're going to get it in for one more coat of the final flat sheen. This only came in for a restoration, not a stripped down full refinish. So we really just needed to repair the damage on the top. And as a bonus, we fixed a few extra spots for this customer to make sure that this looked as close to perfect as possible, as like I said, it was missing a lot of these little chunks. So I'm going to get this one ready down in the booth and then show you this iconic coffee table that's behind me. So now you can see this beautiful coffee table. I believe it's Wenge. It could be zebra wood. Let me know down in the comments if you know exactly what type of grain this is. It's an Italian designer. I'm blanking on his name as well right now, but it was purchased out at Holly Hunt Design out in LA for a home that's in Laguna Beach. We brought it back in. Somebody restored it a few years ago and put polyurethane on the top, super thick. It turned yellow. Now we've stripped it down, done a lot of repairs, and then we're going to put a acrylic clear coat on it that's going to stay clear for as long as it can. Lacquer does yellow over time as well, so this customer wanted it to stay as true to the natural color of the wood as possible, so that's what we're going to do. We're going to get these set up on our tables, get them down, ready. They're ready to go in the booth. So I got one more piece I'm going to show you that Ivan really knocked out of the park. It's a $15,000 daybed made by Knoll. It's really a beautiful piece, so let me grab that real quick. Okay, this is a public service announcement. Don't don't get a new puppy and have beautiful fancy furniture. It doesn't play out. If you come in here a little bit closer, you can see in these corners, all of these corners were chewed out. We filled it with the Mohawk epoxy sticks. This is, like I said, solid mahogany, but you could see how much they chewed up, and it was on all four corners. All of them had it a little bit. These were the worst, and I think it looks worse on the top side when we flip it over. But yeah, like I said, we see this all the time. Somebody gets a new puppy, and next thing you know, they've chewed up their furniture. Doesn't matter if you have IKEA furniture, but it matters when you have something of this, of this stature, something of this value. It really upsets, the customers when their new dog does it to their furniture. So we're here to fix it. But what I'm going to do is get my little hanging mounts screwed into these original holes, and it is a little bit heavier, so we used the larger, almost 1/4 inch screws threaded in. So that way when we hang it, we can go vertical, spray all the corners. But what I'm going to do, I'm going to flip it over and just show you with a little bit of acetone how pretty this grain is before we hang it up and get it down in the spray booth. So I said it's This stuff is stunning. Listen, look at the color of that wood. Super iconic. Now when it's wet, now you can see that epoxy on all these corners that we're going to hand paint and touch up. We're going to teach you how to do that in the coming videos over the next couple days, because I'm going to try to get this one done in a few days, get it back to the customer, get paid, start recouping some of those days off. So we're going to wipe it down with acetone all the way around as we do on all these pieces. We wipe it down, then we'll get some sealer going on it. All right, before I hop on that Eames chair, I just wanted to show you this really cool lamp. We're not gonna have the time to work on it today. We're gonna take all of the electrical out, get it all prepped, so we can strip these, sand them, few little repairs, and then the customer just wants us to paint them with a custom lacquer colors. It's the same customer that just had that Jorge Zalsapin wall unit that was, had the yellow and the rosewood. So I said, if you know lamps, you know who made that. Stunning piece. I can't wait to get that one done. But as I promised, I'm going to show you now how to start these repairs on the Eames, the shock mount filling. This one we're going to do a little different, because you can see there's a little bit of a blowout already. Somebody's already repaired this at one point. So what we're going to do first, grab our tools, grab all the glues and the fillers, and get going on this guy. So we got all the stuff we need. And if you want to learn all of these advanced techniques, make sure to go down to the link below. I'm going to add you to my free school community. We have videos like this that are just detail oriented with stripping, sanding, filling with repairs, how to use epoxy, cleaning metals. Everything in the refinishing process is on there. YouTube here is just for these daily vlogs, and I want you to go to this private community to learn, to take that, go to the advanced class. Let's call it that. So what we're going to do first, kind of get in here, and it looks like this is some of the old glue. I'm just going to carefully just kind of clean this off. Go through and make sure that this is clean first. Get all the old glue or any of the shock mount off of it. And this is where you got to work slow, because as you can see right here, someone didn't work slow before. My guess is one of the bolts that they had on the shock mount came loose, and the whole thing was spinning at one point. Maybe it was sitting on the chair, it came loose, and then spun, scratched it up. I'm going to send the customer an email right now and ask him if he wants us to correct this as well, since it's here. He's I think he's a purist and wants to leave it more in the original character, but that definitely wasn't there originally. So I know you can't smell it through the camera, but I don't think that was glue. That was the rubber. When you're sanding it, it smells like burnt rubber. So I'm assuming that was a little layer of that rubber that was stuck to it. And right now what I'm doing is sanding off whatever glue someone put on it. I don't know what this is. There's just a little bit of a layer of glue on it. Maybe it was like a super glue, a CA glue, yellow glue, who knows. Somebody tried to repair this thing and it just didn't work out. So I said, this is the most important, is just making sure you get it cleaned up first. Because when we start adding that epoxy, we don't want any of the black to get, kind of bent, melted in with it. We don't want to have it be a part of the repair. We want to just get it off, let it stick to virgin wood, not something that's, kind of just say contaminated with a little bit of rubber. That epoxy may not stick properly if we do it that way. So I'm just going to get in here carefully, clean this up nicely. We'll do this one more time as well after the epoxy's been done, but the main thing is getting all this old glue off first is my priority. I think I just about got it. What we're going to do now is, I can't really show you in the camera, but the pieces of ply have some separation, some little fibers. So I'm going to use the super glue. Let's see if I can do it from the back side. So that way you can kind of see what I'm doing from that side. So you can see, I'm in this one right here, going through the hole, and I'm just going to let the glue soak in and kind of harden up all the fibers before we do any type of repair or fill work. Like I mentioned before, that front side has the loose veneer piece, which means this has been blown out before. So I don't want it to happen again or give a weaker repair. So we're just going to let this soak in slowly, kind of continue on in a circle. Go on to this side. As I can see it really closely that it's soaking it up like a sponge. And that's what we want. You know, we want it to do that. Have your rag ready to wipe anything off that might be dripping through. But just do a quick activator spray on it. And then I'm going to work now on the lower one, kind of work my way around, and then we're going to mix up some epoxy, get that in, and that's all we can do on this today. We're going to let it dry overnight, come back tomorrow, sand it, do the repairs, and then hopefully get it back to the customer in a couple days. So now, got it all cleaned up, it's glued. Now it's time to mix up some of this epoxy. Best thing about this Mohawk epoxy sticks, you can mix colors together. Doing this for 21 years now, and I've kind of got an idea where I wanted to start, but I may play with it and have to add a little bit of either the lighter color or the darker color. So I said this side isn't going to matter because you're never going to see it. It's going to be covered by the shock mount, but I'm trying to find a color or make a color that's about a shade lighter than what's on this front side here, so that way it's easy to touch up. If we were to start with like a walnut or something even darker than that, there's no way to lighten that color back up. But I also don't want to start with, you could see the color a little bit closer there. This is the, I think, Hard Rock Maple, one of those colors. It's made for modern maple, which is a really light white colored wood. This is vintage maple or birch, and it's definitely doesn't match. So what we're trying to do is get a color closer to what we have going on here. A lot easier to then blend it in, mask it here later in the process. So now I got it mixed up. I'm adding a little bit of this to kind of soften it, give me a little bit more working time as well. But now, I'm going to just put my finger on the front side, kind of start pressing it down, keeping your finger on the front side just to kind of give it a little bit of a backer. Like I mentioned, the back side here doesn't matter as much, and I think I didn't make enough epoxy. So this is going to bite me in the butt a little bit. I'm going to show you what I'm going to do instead. So there's a way out of this. If you do what I just did here, didn't make up quite enough. So you can see there, we're still beneath the layer of the surface of the top veneer. So what we're going to do is just let this. Actually, you know what? I'm going to save it again. I'm just going to quickly make another batch. We have a lot of working time with this. It may be 3 to 4 minutes before it starts hardening up. So I said if you work quick, you could save it, because I really was like, I'll just let it sit, dry, put it again, but I really want this to dry as one solid piece. For one, it gives you more strength, it's better long term, and two, it just makes it easier. Like instead of having to stop and wait 5-10 minutes and come back. So kind of work at double speed here. Refinishing furniture is pretty easy. Where you're getting caught up is in situations like this. What do you do? What's the right protocol? And that's the main reason why I've created these channels, the Instagram, to start teaching you kind of what I do on a daily basis. So I'm going to just kind of work this. Oh, my finger had a little bit of epoxy on it. I'm going to leave it a little bit pronounced, a little bit up. Usually we try to clear it off as best as possible. But like I mentioned, I want this to go on one time. So I'd rather put on a little too much, have a little extra sanding to do, but that way it just makes it a more of a seamless repair. Then I don't have to make up a custom color to make a tiny section of filler. As I see a little bit right here, right on that edge. So I'm just going to kind of play with it. Remember, this stuff is like a Play-Doh. So the way it sits is the way it's going to dry. We'll come back and then we could sand it off from that point on. I like to use the gloves too, because if we have your fingerprints and if you kind of mess up a little bit, you're going to see some of your fingerprints and have to sand that out. So using gloves is going to be the better option when doing using this epoxy. So now on the back side, this one here, because it was the initial stuff, it's already starting to get a little harder. It's starting to dry. So what I'm going to do here, same thing, is I'm going to clean this up a little bit better. Because it is the back side, if I have to put a little small piece, it's not as big of a deal. and it is a little harder to sand inside this, this recessed groove for the shock mount. So I'm going to try to just clean this up a little bit. We're going to let this dry overnight, come back tomorrow, and then get on to sanding it. So make sure to hit that notification bell to know when the next video launches, and you can watch me finish the repair on this LCW chair.